And Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
who take risks each day.
Keep Americans safe.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
After that group of Democratic veterans and former intelligence officers urged service members to defy, quote, illegal orders, President Donald Trump called for them to be punished by death. Jank, I wish I was joking. And before we get into the details, what are your 2 cents to both the video and his reaction?
Yeah. Look, I want people to stick around for me to explain why I think that video was a bad idea. Do I think that Trump might give illegal orders? Yeah, I do think he might give illegal orders. Nevertheless, that video was a bad idea. Now, does that justify threatening to kill them? Not within a million miles. Mental, absolutely mental for the president to threaten to kill members of Congress. So, oh no, but everybody online, not everybody, the hardcore right-wingers online, no, that's just the legal proceedings. And then at the end, we murder them. I mean, it's not murder, we're just killing them. No, this is an insane conversation. So let's give you the details and then I want to tell you why the video is bad and the threat is worse.
Yeah, well, that video was posted to Democratic Senator Alyssa Slotkin's X account, and it featured Senator Mark Kelly, Representative Chrissy Houlihan, Representative Crystal Luzio, Maggie Goodlander, Representative from New Hampshire, and then Representative Jason Crow. So let's hear what was said in that video, and then we'll get into how Trump interpreted it. Take a look.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now. Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Now, that video doesn't seem to be in response to one exact instance, nor does it specify what exact orders might be seen as unlawful. However, some of the lawmakers have relayed this week that they are hearing concerns from service members about the legality of strikes that have targeted people the Trump administration alleges are trafficking narcotics by sea. Traditionally, the US military adheres to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which holds that service members must obey lawful orders, whether they agree with them or not. They're obligated to not follow manifestly unlawful orders, but such situations are rare and legally fraught. Members of the military take an oath to the Constitution, not the president. Now, as of November 15th, there have been 21 strikes on alleged drug vessels in the Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean, killing 82 people with 3 survivors. But it's not just that. Jason Crow, who was featured in the video, gave a little more insight into that video on Fox News. Take a look.
What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, number one, the protests at Lafayette Square in the first Trump administration where he said, can't you just shoot them? Can't you just shoot them in the legs or something? That's his direct quote. And of course, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That was not a military order. That was a comment. That's not a military order.
When that's coming from the president of the United States to your generals, don't you think that's a request? That's
I'm
a question?
asking specifically right now what you're talking about.
Yeah, number two, he's also threatened to send the military into Chicago and other cities to, quote, go to war with those cities, right? That is a very, very disturbing thing. Number three, he's also alluded to sending troops to polling stations, which is actually a violation of US law.
When you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about
Martha,
not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs?
No.
Is that
Martha,
what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Now, according to the president, these potential crimes are nothing compared to the lawmakers' seditious behavior. Writing on Truth Social in response to a Washington Examiner article on the matter, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have any country anymore. An example must be set. President DJT. Trump then reposted multiple posts agreeing with him, saying they should be thrown out of office, arrested, frog-marched, etc. But then he reposted this. Hang them. George Washington would. And he ended his rant with this. Seditious behavior, punishable by death. And to be clear, seditious behavior or conspiracy is not punishable by death. Treason is, but first let's look at seditious conspiracy. Seditious conspiracy is what Proud Boys chairman Enrique Tarrio and 2 other Oath Keeper leaders were charged with in connection to the January 6th insurrection. The seditious conspiracy law was enacted after the Civil War to arrest Southerners who might keep fighting the US government. Sedition cases have been rare in recent history. The charge can be difficult to prove, especially in cases when an alleged plot is unsuccessful. In order to win a seditious conspiracy case, prosecutors have to prove that 2 or more people conspired to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the US government, or bring war against it, or that they plotted to use force to oppose the authority of the government or to block the execution of the law. It's not enough to merely show the defendants advocated the use of force. Prosecutors must show they conspired to use force. Conviction calls for up to 20 years in prison. Treason prosecutions are even rarer than seditious conspiracy cases and is punishable by death with a minimum sentence of 5 years in jail. None of the January 6th rioters have been charged with treason. Cenk, there's more, but I want to bring you in here. What do you make of this?
Yeah, disaster all around. So first, you shouldn't follow illegal orders is the message of the video. That is not sedition. That is just a restatement of American law. American law says that the military personnel and intelligence officers should not follow an illegal order, okay? So not remotely sedition to repeat something that is already in the law, okay? Let alone murdering the legislators. You say, well, it's not really murder because they'd go through a trial and then the state would kill them. Not any better. Enrique Tarrio, terrible guy. I think he did do sedition on January 6th. He was convicted of sedition. Do I think, for example, he should be murdered? No, I do not. No, that's a terrible idea, okay? Now, Jordan laid out the distinction there between sedition and treason, but I wouldn't have gone within a million miles of that, right? So now, why did I not like that video? Okay, so guys, there's something weird about it, right? Because they say, and there's something problematic about it. They say, okay, don't give up the ship. What ship? I don't know what we're talking about. So if you said, hey, bring the National Guard into the streets of Portland, Chicago, etc., DC. Well, DC is a little bit different, but without an insurrection is illegal. That is true. And so, okay, but not following that order has a different problem. I'll get back to that in a second. If you say bombing those boats off the coast of Venezuela and other countries, by the way, and killing those 82 people is illegal, definitely, and it's actually murder. And we have no evidence against those guys. Most of the time, we don't even know their names. And a couple of times, we caught some of them instead of killing them, and then we just let them go because they were innocent. Okay, so it's an absolute disaster. So now, does that mean that the military should stop following the orders and they should resign when they're told to murder those maybe drug guys, maybe fishermen, etc.? Actually, yes, I do think that. But the way that you do that, in my opinion, is if you're the military guy, they ask to press the button and kill the guy, go, I resign. And so you can get somebody else to press the button. I'm not doing anything against the American government. I just won't follow an illegal order. I resign. You can get somebody else to press the button, but I'm not gonna do it, right? That I think would show great valor and heroism, etc. But they didn't say that it was about the Venezuelan boats. And in fact, now afterwards, when they're asked to clarify, they kind of allude to those two things, but then go to, no, something happens in the future, right? Okay, now here's the 2 problems. Guys, if you put out a general statement saying don't follow an illegal order, and let's say the president says, okay, you're in the National Guard, you're going to Portland. What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to say I'm not following the order? And it's my decision, I'm making the decision. Because in that case, for example, that actually has to get adjudicated through the courts. Is there an insurrection? Was there did the president call for one? Can he do it without insurrection? Even the courts sometimes disagree. So if you're a person who's like, oh, I'm not gonna wait for the courts, I think it's illegal. Again, it's an act of conscience that I love, and I think that you're very likely right. But if people start doing that en masse, then nobody's gonna follow orders. Okay, especially before it goes to the courts. And now, shoe on the other foot, please, please, please. I know everybody's so obsessed with partisans, and what Trump said is so terrible that you don't even wanna discuss. what the Democratic senators and congresspeople said in that video. But shoe on the other foot. Imagine 6 right-wingers did a video while Obama or Biden was president saying, now remember, if Obama or Biden give you an order, okay, do not follow illegal orders. Do not follow illegal orders. Do not follow the orders of the president, right? My guess is that a lot of people on the left and Democrats would have flipped out. Like, what do you mean you're not gonna follow Obama's orders? He's the president of the United States. What does that mean you're not gonna follow his orders? No, I know. We would have flipped out, okay? So now, we shouldn't flip out either because you are not supposed to follow illegal orders, okay? But making a video about it preemptively is weird. And then the last thing is, Jordan, and look, I'm super open to your point of view on it, and we discuss back and forth, but again, do they know something we don't know? What is this in advance of? So otherwise, it feels so out of place and weird.
I mean, it could be a variety of things. We saw today, there seems to be some activity, some military activity in Mexico now. We're learning more today, but there's an illegal invasion of Mexico potentially that this could be in reference to. But I think the most likely thing is this promise that they would deploy the military on US soil. And, federal law prohibits the use of our military for domestic law enforcement. Trump doesn't care. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily about the drug boats, while those are illegal, and the justification that the Trump administration has rolled out is flimsy at best. That's just pure killing. I don't think that some of the people in the video really care about that. Alyssa Slotkin specifically, she is extremely hawkish with a CIA background. I don't think she really cares about intervention that much. I think it's about domestic law enforcement by the US military. I don't see anything wrong with that. We've seen people for months now demand more of Democrats to be bolder, to speak out, to take action, take a stand. In their way, they're doing that here on something that pertains to their military background. I think that's fine. I don't think it hurts to remind US service members who are being fed propaganda by the Trump administration, by Pete Hegseth, maybe even by people in their chain of command about what they're doing. I don't think it hurts to have an outside reminder. And if they're hearing it from their constituents like they say, it's good to make a public statement about this. Hey, know your rights. In any other capacity, we do know your rights training. And activism, we tell people, hey, Trump's coming in. We're seeing a wave of authoritarian power grabs. These are your rights. Know you can do this. It's good to have a reminder because, as we've seen in other actions or other areas of the military, going up the chain of command has not always worked, and it's been helpful to have outside influence. But then again, on the point about resigning versus rejecting the order, rejecting is like the best possible path for them because it gums up the works, and they don't immediately lose their benefits if they were to resign. They're entitled to those benefits. They served, they worked for them, they earned them, they deserve them. Resigning risks losing the benefits that they are entitled to. But rejecting the order, as they are legally allowed to do if it's illegal, also protects their benefits. And then if there is some sort of punishment and like a court-martial, who knows? But an objective judge or reviewer would see, no, they were operating in a way that they're legally permitted to do so.
Yeah, so look, again, I don't like the trend. I think that I am genuinely curious to see if there was a different reason why they did this video preemptively. But I looked it up, and the constitutional sheriffs, you remember them? They were the guys saying, well, we're not gonna follow Biden's orders on COVID or anything else, okay? And I remember being outraged by that. And I remember everyone on the left was outraged, and I just looked it up, and tons of articles about this is outrageous. The president says something that people have to follow it, right? So that was on the left. Now we're saying that they don't necessarily have to follow. Now, the reality is, it's true. It's true, you should not follow an illegal order. But the complicated part is, how do you know it's illegal? So some things are crystal clear. Shoot that man in the head. No, that is an obvious illegal order, right? By the way, bomb those boats is the same thing, okay? So on the other hand, I'm ordering you as a National Guard to deploy in this area. That's super confusing. Like, are you sure that the courts are gonna rule in your direction? So I'm worried about it. By the way, the constitutional sheriffs now are challenging Trump too, and saying that they're against ISIS mass surveillance on social media. Okay. Although, by the way, you see always the hypocrisies on both sides, right? The right wing's furious today, and they're like, of course, it's sedition and treason, and they should be executed, right? And after a trial, presumably, right? So, okay, the constitutional sheriffs are also saying Trump is doing something wrong. Should they be executed? No, right? Because they're on your side. So, like, this is absurd. No one should be executed. Talking about the death of these legislators who made a video I don't love, and I don't necessarily like agree with the strategy behind it, but that is actually technically perfectly legal. They're just stating what the current law is. We're gonna kill them over that? No. You see, this is why people voted against Trump. That's why I voted against Trump. That's why people were concerned about Trump. That's why people said he was authoritarian. And yes, that's why some people said he was fascist. Because this is a minor issue. It's a freaking video by 6 people saying, so restating American law. And now we're talking about killing them. No, that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's crazy, okay? And if you don't recognize that that's crazy talk, look, no one has the ability to do shit on other foot. It drives me crazy. So while Obama was president, if 6 Republicans made a video about, Obama's gonna give you illegal orders, and he's gonna tell you that, you should, whatever, right? And you should not follow an illegal order. And Obama said, I'm thinking about killing those guys. Come on, right wing. Come on, right wing. Would you have been like, oh no, he would follow the law, and then if they were convicted of treason, obviously Ted Cruz and and Louis Gohmert at the time and Marjorie Taylor Greene, et cetera, should be executed. They should be killed by the state. Of course you wouldn't say that. Of course you wouldn't, because it's insane. So this is the problem with Donald Trump. He's insane. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.